We had to sit upstairs in the movies. I never learned to swim because there was no pool for black kids. You could only swim in the river. And my father insisted that I not do that. Now my brothers would disobey and go, and they learned to swim. I think both of them. But me, nor my sisters learned to swim. I think my baby sister learned after she was an adult and in college. She learned to swim. Segregation kept my family poor, so we never learned to drive automobiles. I learned to drive an automobile until I met my husband. And I was really grown and working in Atlanta. Segregation was always there. The books we had were terrible because as a child you would read the books you had. And my Aunt Mary was the real heavy wage earner in the whole family. And she was the janitor of a white school. And she used to bring us better books. Not because she should, but because they were better. And we would read stories, so the stories you hear about reading a story and getting to the end and not knowing what the ending is true. There would be pages torn out of them. And we would use the used books in the classroom. And we brought them home, but you couldn't lose them. I still know that's important in public education. But we never got the new books. Never. Just never. And we never had lunchrooms when I was in school. You know, kids brought their lunch. We would sit on the grass and share lunch, pails and boxes. And only when I got to high school did we meet progressive teachers who had then started to graduate from the schools right here in Atlanta. And they would come in and they fixed up areas and students made different kinds of sandwiches and we sold sandwiches. But segregation forced all that. There was no school bus for us. We would walk to school and wave at the children who were on their way to Wacona High, who were all white, in the rain, and see them on the bus. And it was so, and it is still strange for me. We never asked why. Isn't that something? We never even asked why we weren't bused to school. And I walked to school almost as far as it is from here to your college every day. In my elementary school years, because we only had one elementary school on the side of town that I lived on, and then we bought a house that was near the high school, so my house is no more than 3 or 4 blocks from the high school. But remember now, high school started at 6th grade, and so all those other grades, when I was frail and little, we went to school walking, and I had to be carried to school by a cousin, 2 guys. Both of them were my cousins, my mother's sister's sons, and one was really nice and the other one was a holy terror. So he just terrorized me all the time, but I still went to school. And he would come and wait for me in the mornings and walk me to school, and he would have to wait for me to get out of class, and he would walk me back to near my home. You know, once I got in my neighborhood, you just ran all the way home. And the most frightening incident in my life, in my whole life, even today, the very most frightening incident in my life was an incident where I was returning the clothes that my mother had washed and ironed. Remember, he wouldn't let her work now, but she could take him washing and ironing. But we'd have to, they would drop them, but we'd have to take them back. And I was taking clothes back to the home of someone that my mother had washed and ironed the clothes for. And we helped. And 3 white guys. And I was a little girl. I couldn't have been more than 7. I don't remember exactly, but I was always frail. They sent me home in high school because I didn't weigh but 49 pounds. I wish I could speak to that frailty now. I weigh much more. But 3 white guys put a big dog on me, just a huge dog. And it was, they, you know, said, get her. And I was alone. And of course I was frightened. And out of nowhere came this tall, dark woman who looked like a queen and always will to me, who carried her clothes back to the whites on her head, named Miss Dyson. And you can check this. I don't know that any of her family still lives, but she has a son, I think, who is a principal, or was a principal, in Peach County, Warner Robins, Georgia. I'm almost sure. And she just showed up out of nowhere, thank God. And that's why I still believe that your life is planned. It really is. And she said, don't you dare. And she stepped in front of me. And the boys ran, and the dog ran with them.